Hey, welcome to lesson 3. Today is laying down that bass track. Okay, so as usual, I'm just going to play you roughly the end point of this lesson so you know what we're aiming for, and then we'll go back to the file that you finished with, the end of last lesson, and build it. So have a listen. Cool. All right, so jump back into the file that you created from last lesson with just the chords. So the first thing, as with a lot of these lessons, is we're going to add a new instrument, and this time I want you to add deep texture bass. And again, as in previous lessons, I've mentioned there's a lot of options. So if you don't like this, by all means change it, but for now start with this, and I think you'll like it. So deep texture bass is what I'm after. All right, now so I'm going to teach you two methods. First of all, a bit of an ad lib one, and to do so, what we need to do is just create an empty MIDI track. Hold Command, create a single bar. All right, now I'm going to make this a 4-bar loop. Now, don't see here, there's two icons that pop up if you hover over the end, not the loop, because I want it. I just actually want to extend the MIDI section to 4 bars. So I want with a double arrow. Once you've got that, click and drag through to so you've got 4 bars now, and place it underneath where those chords are. Okay. Next thing I want you to do is to create a loop. Tell it to loop, and to do so in this in the timeline where you've got your numbers there, click and drag where you want that to loop. Now you'll notice that it becomes mustard, and this loop button is highlighted. If you've got that highlighted and you don't want it to keep looping, you just click on that there, or you can click on that there. All right. So what we're going to do, and I'll just show you what that does. So if I just play, it'll just loop this 4-bar section. Now the usefulness of this is that you can just experiment. So if your keyboard, virtual keyboard, hasn't popped up, Command K to get it there. Okay, and now we have it. And what I'm suggesting, now this is one way of doing it, is just experimenting with different lines until you come up with something you like. All right, so I'll just demonstrate that. So we could just play. Once you've come up with something you like, you can record it. All right. All right, so that's an... Oh, interesting, I've got the record button happening there. All right, anyway, so that's an example. You may like that, you may not. And if you don't come up with something you like, I'm going to share another method. All right, so let's leave that. Let's just pretend we recorded that, we loved it. And let's say we wanted something else. So I'm just going to shift that to the side. And now I'm going to show you the second method. The second method is a bit more foolproof, and it's just based on the chords. So I'm actually going to copy the chords. So Command C, click the track where I want to copy it, click the position, put your cursor where you want it to paste, and then Command V. All right, now you can think, what? That's not a bass line, that's their chords, and you're quite right. And it's also going to be in the wrong octave. It's not going to be low enough. Remember, we put those fairly high. Just have a listen. I'll just solo that. And I don't need this right now, so let's just solo it, and and you'll hear. Okay, so anyway, that's definitely not what I want, but you'll see we will make it so. So first of all, I just want single notes per bar, so I'm just going to get rid of that syncopation. Just highlight, delete, select and stretch out. So now I've got single notes, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the whole thing. I'm going to put it down an octave. Okay, so do so. Highlight all your notes that you want to change, and the shortcut to this, now you could just drag it down, but I'm actually going to do Option, Shift, and then down arrow. Oh yeah, okay, so now we're more in the bass, into the bass region. That's where I want it. Okay, so now the next trick is finding a bass line that you like. Now, what we just want one note per bar, and so what you can do is just experiment. If you just listen, if you just sort of play it, sorry, so that could be a bass line, or something else, an ascending bass line. You might like that. Or, quite common, is a descending bass line. Alright, any combination will probably work. You may like less or more, but it's just experiment. So I'm going to actually go, what do I like? Go for that. Alright, so I'm just going to get rid of that. Those two. So, yeah, get rid of that. Get rid of that. Those two. Alright, so let's have a listen, see what we think. Alright, let's go. Let's just listen to it together now. Oh, I kind of like that. All right. So anyway, so that's the second method. So you can just use the chord tones and pick any one in each bar to create your bass line. So that's kind of cool. All right. Next section is the automation. So we want this pulsing sound in the bass because, well, that's genre specific. So the pulse comes after the kick. So go. Anyway, so the first thing we need to do is click A, and that brings up your automation track. Okay, it looks like the original thing, but it's not. Okay, make sure that volume is selected. Because that's what we're going to automate. Make sure that it's the track, the bass track that you want to change. And now the first thing we're going to do, we're actually just going to create automation for one bar and then copy and paste it. All right. So let's just zoom in so that we can see just one bar. All right. Now on the top there should start at 3 and end at 4. Okay. Now if you click just in that automation track, you'll get a yellow line, and that is set at 0 dB. Okay, 0 dB just means that the volume hasn't been increased or decreased. Okay, and to begin with, what we want is when the kick lands at 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can see those numbers in the timeline there. And we want, at that point, we want the bass to be at negative infinity, which basically means no sound at all, and then for it to rise up. So place your cursor at 3 or at the beginning of your bass, and what we're going to do is actually populate the positions. So I'm just going to move my cursor along 16ths. So remember, we've just got a bar, and these subdivisions are 16ths. All right. And I'm just going to click along this line, moving my cursor, and I'll show you why in a moment. So I'm just going to do the first few, all right, and show you the shape that we want. All right, so back to here, back to 3. Just click slightly, just between your first 2 there, put another point, drop it down to negative infinity dB. All right, basically means no sound at all. All right, and then from that point, this second point drags straight down to negative infinity as well. That is the shape that we want. So when the kick hits, nothing at all, and then it slopes up to full volume. Okay, we didn't actually need that point there. We'll get rid of that. The next point is where we want it to be 0, is at 3.2, which is when the next kick lands. All right, so click a point. Oh, actually, let's put in some more points. So we want 3, and then it can be a gap till 3.3 is when the next kick happens. All right, so I'm just going to whack those in and do the magic. Show you how that's done real quick. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, this is a bit tedious, but just trust me, it's worth it. I think I did one more than I needed to. All right, so let's modify it now. So we are here. We want this to drop down to 0 again. So I've got that second point just past there, drag it down, pull it back, a little bit too far, so it's straight down. And then this one can be pulled straight down as well, and we get that slope up. Okay, 3.3 is the next time the kick happens, and we want the bass down to 0 again. So we drag it down to 0, pull this point down, there she goes. And again, that was the extra one I didn't need. 3.4, the kick happens again, just past it, put a point, drag it back, there she goes, and there we go again, and we are just about done. I might just put a point there, the reason being, I don't need that one. When I copy this pattern, I want a full bar from that point to that point. And then when I paste, it'll just paste 1 bar, 1 bar, 1 bar, as many as I like. Okay, so now hold Shift, click and drag over those points. Okay, cool. So now, so Command C for copy. Move your cursor to bar 4, or the next bar for you, whatever that is, and Command V. And you see we've pasted and it's lined up exactly on bar 5. Hang on, maybe it's not exactly. If it isn't, just shift it so it is. Yeah, no. I think one of my points may not have been quite on the bar line, so just make sure it does. Your next one, Command V, paste exactly on the bar. If it's not exactly, just shift it, adjust it so that it is. Command V. Okay, so let's just check. Let's have a look now. Okay, so I've got that pattern pasted through the 4 bars of my loop. I'm just going to play this just to see if it sounds right. I think you'll agree that that's about what we're after. To do so, I'll just solo it first. You hear that pulsing. Cool, and then in context. All right. Now, so that's it. Just beware if you're changing instruments, changing bass instruments, the automation will go with that. So if you want the automation, copy it first or copy it to some other track, then you can duplicate it. Now, if you've got time, you finish early, I'd recommend play around with some hi-hats, add some hi-hats, have a go at starting arranging your track as well. All right, have fun. Thanks for watching. See you next week.